It's Capital Region Sports Saturday with Brady Farkas, sponsored by Mohawk Honda.
Tom Coughlin is coaching likely his final game in the NFL tomorrow when the Giants close out the regular seasons against the Eagles. It is the right move for Tom Coughlin to walk away with 1 year left on his deal, but it is not Tom Coughlin's entire fault why the Giants are playing yet another meaningless game here in Week 17. It is Capital Region Sports Saturday, brought to you by Mohawk Honda, your number one volume dealer in the Capital Region. I am your host, Brady Farkas. And Tom Coughlin, the report has come out that he will most likely resign following tomorrow's regular season finale, Giants-Eagles, a game that a couple weeks ago could have decided the NFC East title, and now will be a game that features two teams not going to the playoffs. The Giants haven't been in the playoffs since 2011. The Eagles have just fired their head coach in Chip Kelly. So by the end of the day, that game could represent two teams that do not have head coaches at that time. Tom Coughlin, as we said, the Giants have not been in the playoffs since 2011. That's really hard to believe because the Giants have won 2 Super Bowls in the Tom Coughlin era. He has been one of the best coaches in the NFL for a long time, but it just hasn't come together for the Giants this season. There's been a lot of issues from clock management on Eli Manning's part, from some offensive questions about how the running game has been used. Rashad Jennings has had some productivity the last couple of weeks, but he was never really the number one back. The Giants have had injuries. There's been roster concerns about lack of depth. All of that is an entire organizational failing, and Tom Coughlin has been the guy who has been the scapegoat among you, the fan, for a long time now, for a number of years. Mike Garofalo was the first guy I saw to report this. He was on yesterday. Mike Garofalo of Fox Sports 1 was on Fox Sports 1 yesterday afternoon with Colin Cowherd. He joined the herd, and he talked about the inevitability of Tom Coughlin's resigning.
Because everything I've heard since that Carolina game and how disappointing it was, yeah, they fought back in the end, but they didn't really come out of the gate strong like you usually see a Tom Coughlin team do in that game right there. I was actually told even after the game, Coughlin was on the field playing with his grandkids, which nobody has really seen. And they said, this is a different Tom Coughlin. And I think that he's ready to move away. And a lot of people are talking right now as if it's an inevitability that on Monday he is going to resign. I'm hearing that from a lot of people.
Oh, wow. So Garofalo on the herd with Colin Cowherd actually says Monday is what he is hearing as far as Tom Coughlin. So if this decision does happen, it may not come on Sunday following the game, but it would come on Monday, on Black Monday, as the term is used for the NFL, when that's the day where a lot of coaches who are going to get fired. The Eagles preempted it, getting rid of Chip Kelly going into Week 17, but a lot of other questions. Will Jeff Fisher last in St. Louis? Will Mike Pettin last in Cleveland? Will the Titans are looking for a head coach as well, having already gotten rid of Ken Wisenhunt earlier in the year. So a lot of teams with a lot of questions. The Giants could be one of those teams in the market for a new coach. We'll ask Matt Verderame, the NFL expert at Fansided.com, what the Giants could do. Who are the hot coaching candidates? Who could the Giants be looking at if Tom Coughlin does, in fact, resign? Remember, he does have 1 year left on his deal, so he does not have to walk away. Now, the Giants could fire him, could force him out if they think that is the right move. But Tom Coughlin has too much pride to be fired. If he doesn't want to be there, he will walk away, in my estimation, as well. And it is the right move. The Giants, they need a new voice, and that does not say that Tom Coughlin is a bad coach, because I don't believe that Tom Coughlin is a bad coach. He has won 2 Super Bowls. Obviously, he has done something right. He's been in the playoffs a number of times with the Giants. He's been in the playoffs with Jacksonville. Took a team that was an expansion team just a few years earlier and went to the AFC title game. So Tom Coughlin knows how to coach. He didn't just forget how to coach football. But sometimes when you've been there as long as he has, now going more than 10 years, Tom Coughlin, you just need a new voice in your locker room. And it is time for Tom Coughlin to walk away. So if he does resign on Monday morning, I think it will be a good decision. The Giants will benefit from it as well. And the Giants, as we said, there's been a lot of things at play in this season, but from an organizational standpoint, Jerry Reese is another guy that you guys are mad at, the fans, the general manager. The Giants drafts, how you build in the NFL is through the draft. And the Giants drafts have not really elicited a whole lot of success in the last few years. I mean, look at this past year. You're seeing Landon Collins. You're seeing Eric Flowers, the offensive lineman. Those are really your only two guys that are really, really contributing off this year's draft. Odell Beckham Jr. from a year ago obviously is a star, but who else is there? I went to BleacherReport.com, and I looked at just the 2009 draft. 2009. Now, that was 6 years ago, obviously. But when you're a veteran-laden team, the Giants, the 25th oldest roster coming into this season, 25th oldest roster in the NFL coming into this season, your guys that are veterans, the guys that should be leading your team in their 5th, 6th year by this point, they should be guys that you're counting on. There should be a handful of them left, and there's really not. For the Giants, Hakeem Nicks was taken in that draft. Remember, he was the star, then he was gone. Now he's back. The second version of Hakeem Nicks is not the first. Clint Stidham, linebacker, Virginia, 2nd round, 45th overall. Never heard of him until I looked at this. Will Beatty, the offensive tackles around. Then wide receiver, Ramses Barden, nothing. Travis Beckham, a tight end from Wisconsin. Rhett Bomar, QB, Sam Houston State. DeAndre Wright, defensive back, New Mexico. Stoney Woodson, defensive back, South Carolina. And then Andre Brown, the running back from North Carolina State. But the Giants, their drafts have not been very successful recently. Again, that was just a sample of the 2009 draft, and you're not getting production really out of any of those guys in the last few years outside of Will Beatty and then Hakeem Nicks the first time around. It is Capital Region Sports Saturday, brought to you by Mohawk Honda, your number one volume dealer in the Capital Region, transitioning high school basketball. And you wondered if after winning the state title a year ago, the Shenendehowa boys varsity basketball team would hit a lull this year. Could they remain focused? Could they remain interested? They had the area's best player in Kevin Herter, but how else would the rest of the guys respond when you lose a Thomas Herter to graduation, when you lose a Matt Alverson, a Drew Lewis? They lost a lot, but the Plainsmen, they are back 10-0 right now. They just go out. They win the Palmer tournament in Elmira, a tournament that saw some of the top teams in New England, some of the top teams in the Mid-Atlantic region. And on the phone with us right now is Shenendehowa boys varsity basketball coach Tony Dzikas. And, Coach, most teams, they take the holidays off. You guys are out winning big-time tournaments. What did that tournament do for you? How was it out there in Elmira?
Hey, Bray, thanks for having me. Happy New Year. It was a great tournament. It was we spent 3.5 days out there, and I'll tell you, we've been to quite a few tournaments in 11 years I've been coaching at Shen, and this one certainly is one of the best ones we've participated in every aspect. Organizationally, it was fantastic. The competition was really good, and I think it really gave us the opportunity to grow the team. And we were in 3 quality games that we had to make adjustments, and players had to step up, and we had to foul shots, and really have an experience that I think will help us down the road.
You guys are 10-0 now. Did you need those close games? Because last year you won the state title game. This year you really hadn't been tested early on. Did you need those close games to kind of keep everyone engaged and focused?
You know, it's a great question. I don't know the answer to whether we needed them. Last year when we went out to OCC, you know that we like to travel. Even when you played for me, we traveled out to Proctor, played some tournaments. You know, stay the night. I think it's great. I think it's important, always important from a team perspective to take those trips and bond a little bit and. You know, get away and just be together. I think it develops some closeness within the team. Last year we went out to OCC, and I think we won by an average of 45 points each game. And I remember leaving saying, oh, boy, hopefully I didn't screw up. I didn't realize that, you know, I thought the competition was going to be a little stiffer, and it didn't happen, and we ended up being state champions. So to say that you need a tournament like this, I'm not sure, but man, I just think it's a good experience for us. I think that playing against, you know, in 3 days we played against 3 teams from 3 different states. McDivitt gave us a team that was, you know, tough kids. They were bumping you as you were cutting through the lane. They had their hands on us. It really, you know, it made us uncomfortable. and the kids had to fight through that. The next day we get Rice Memorial, who's won the state championship in Vermont, 2-3 years in a row. They had this kid, Ben Shunyu, who was, I believe, the Gatorade Player of the Year in Vermont, and he was incredible. Really had to focus on him. So, that was an adjustment we had to make from one day to the next, and obviously Bishop Kearney was phenomenal. They have an absolutely stud player in Quentin Rose, who I believe is going to Temple next year. And it was a remarkable championship game, and the gym was packed. You got two teams that aren't even from the Elmira area, and the gym was absolutely packed, and the crowd was loving it. Players were loving it, and we were fortunate enough to come out on top.
It's Capital Region Sports Saturday, brought to you by Mohawk Honda, your number one volume dealer in the Capital Region. On the phone right now, Shen varsity basketball coach Tony Dzikas. And Coach, Kevin Herter gets a lot of the headlines. He had 32 points in the tournament championship, but Mike Pizzichetti had 24 and has really helped you guys get an inside presence to complement Kevin's play. Speak to his play. Yeah,
Mike Pizzichetti is, I just think he's a fantastic player. He's going to get a lot of looks at the next level. He's a young junior. And Mike Pizzichetti does things that a coach cannot teach. He's got tremendous hands. When we're at practice or even in a game when somebody gives him a pass, you can hear him catch it. He just smacks the ball into his hands. He's got strong hands. He sees the floor and the post. He can see cutters. He can see guys open for jumpers. And he's gotten so good at creating his own moves. And if they don't double, if he's got a mismatch and they don't double down on him, he's scoring or getting fouled. And I think some teams learned that over this past week. And he's just a really, really good basketball player.
You've coached with or coached for or against a lot of the top players that have come through this area, whether it be Jimmer, Taylor Battle. Where does Kevin rank in that list?
Oh, right up on the top. I mean, Kevin just is special in the fact that he sees the floor so well that you can take away his points, but he's going to find other people. And Kevin's tremendous. He's fortunate that he is not on an island by himself. That was one of our goals in the off season. And when we had our exit meetings, I wanted to put my tail off to make sure you got guys around you. And we certainly did. And, Kevin's going to make us look really good because he's going to find those open guys. And those open guys got to, hit their shots. And then, obviously you've got Mike Pizzichetti inside. And Kevin's very unselfish. Kevin's a team player. He just wants to, he wants the team to win. He cares less. If he has 10 points, wonderful. If he has 30, that's great. As long as Shen wins, he's a happy kid, and he's just a pleasure to coach.
It's Capital Region Sports Saturday. On the phone, Tony Dzikas, Shenendahoe basketball coach. Coach, last question. You're coaching your son this year for the first time. He's a sophomore. What's that like? Is it an awesome experience, or is it a headache waiting to happen every night? Which side do you fall on?
Jake Dzikas is a lot like his father. He's a pretty stubborn guy, and he can be. But I love him, and I love coaching him. I coached him when he was in sixth grade. I coached a sixth grade team when he was in sixth grade, and team camp. He played summer league. So it's really not the first time. It took some adjusting. I'm not going to lie to you. It's always challenging to coach your own kid. Not to see your own kid first is, anybody who says, I treat him just like every other player. I don't know how much I can believe that. I've had to work at it, and we've gotten pretty good at what happens in the gym stays in the gym. So when he has tough practice, he has a tough game, he gets barked at. We're the same off the floor. When he has a great game, hey Jake, super job, proud of you. Bang, we're on to the next. I love it. He's done a good job. I've been really pleasantly surprised with how he's played, how he shot the ball. When CBA came to town, and that crowd, it was a packed gym. You were there, 1,600 people. I thought maybe we would have some soiled diapers in the gym from some young guys, but man, they stepped up, and was one of them, and it's been a pleasure, Brady. It's been a pleasure.
It's Capital Region Sports Saturday, brought to you by Mohawk Honda. On the phone, Shen basketball coach Tony Dzikas. They're 10-0. They win the Palmer tournament in Elmira over this holiday break. Coach, best of luck in 2016 and Happy New Year.
Thanks, Brady. Happy New Year to you, too.
Absolutely. Always a good time to talk to Coach Dzikas. And as he alluded to, I played for Coach Dzikas. I was actually on his first ever varsity team at Shenandoah back 2005, 2006. I was a 3-year varsity player for him. So it is good to see the Shen program continue to grow, continue to be strong. And then last year it culminates with a state championship. And this year, Shen not done. They go 25-1 last year. They're 10-0 now. And really, I've seen him play twice this year. Saw him play against CBA, saw him play against Guilderland, and really it is much more than just a Kevin Herder team. There is Mike Pizzichetti. There's Peter Bebich down, who's a guard. And then the team just shoots the lights out of the gym. 21 threes, I think they hit in that game against Guilderland. They circulate the ball well. And really, they are going to be tough to beat for any team within Section 2. I don't see any team in Section 2 giving them an issue until the playoffs, when you never know when you see a Green Tech. You never know. Maybe you see a team like Guilderland the second time who's able to make some adjustments. But I don't think for the regular season, I don't think Shen's really going to be contested within the Suburban Council. It is Capital Region Sports Saturday, brought to you by Mohawk Honda. Shen, they may not be tested, but this local team, they are up for a big test. And it goes again today. That's next.
It's Capital Region Sports Saturday with Brady Farkas, sponsored by Mohawk Honda.
Yeah, I mean, Marquise is, a big part of this team, obviously, and he was a big part of our offense. So I think it's just going to take some getting used to playing without him, because it's a different set of guys on the court at all times. I mean, he plays 39 minutes a game. He's always out there. So just to get used to him not being there is going to take a little time.
That was Siena men's basketball player Brett Bisping earlier this week. Siena taking on Niagara today. MAC conference action. The Saints will be without star guard Marquise Wright. 6 to 8 weeks, a stress fracture in his foot. Missed the game against Vermont earlier in the week, a game that the Saints lost without him, and they will be tested starting again today against Niagara. The Purple Eagles come to town, MAC conference action. For Siena, Marquise Wright does it all. 39 minutes a game, as you heard Brett Bisping say. He's their leading scorer. Marquise Wright is not a guy that you can just replace. If he comes back at the earliest timetable, it would be February 11th against Canisius. It could be as late as the end of February for the tail end of conference play and then the MAC tournament. Wright, his junior season has been unbelievable. One of just 4 players in Division I averaging at least 17 points, 4 rebounds, 4 assists, and 2 steals. And you know who's in that company with him? Michael Benajay of Syracuse, Alex Hamilton, Louisiana Tech, and Ben Simmons of LSU. The guy could be the number 1 pick in the NBA draft. Some people have called him the next LeBron James. Marquise Wright from Siena College, Little Siena College right here in Albany, is in the same conversation with Ben Simmons of LSU. And Siena will not have him for the next 6 to 8 weeks. But if you're a Saints fan, there is optimism still. I told you after the Albany Cup that I was a believer in Siena because not only did I think they were going to beat Albany, I thought that they were really going to come out and play well. They did. They won that game 78-71, and Siena has a chance to still make noise, big-time noise, in the MAC Conference. In the meantime, they've got guys like Kenny Wormley, who's had experience playing the point guard position. Marquise Wright was moving over to the 2. Kenny Wormley comes in to play the 1. So they have a guy who can handle the point. They have Nico Clarith, a freshman who say what you want about him. I am not a huge fan of look at me guy on the court, and that's what Nico Clarith is. But his talent, his skill set is undeniable. He hit 3 threes against Albany. He was in double figures. He gets to the rim. He plays with a passion. He plays with an energy. He plays with a swagger. He is a guy who just may relish the opportunity to have everyone saying, backs are against the wall. You're not playing with Marquise Wright. You don't have Marquise Wright. What's going on? How you'll respond without Marquise Wright? Well, Nico Clarith is a guy who can put the team on his back offensively on any given night, and he is going to step up. They're going to need him to, but he is going to. He has that makeup. He can be that guy. And so if you can just tread water in the MAC Conference until the end of February, and then you finish out your conference season strong for a few games, and then you go into the MAC tournament fully healthy with a Marquise Wright, with a Javion Oganyemi, with a Brett Bisping, with a Ryan Oliver, with a Levon Long, Siena, I don't care what seed they are in the tournament. I don't care what seed Siena ends up getting in the tournament. They can make noise here in the MAC tournament. And the MAC tournament, remember, is at the Times Union Center in Albany, where the Saints play well, where they feed off the enthusiasm of the crowd, especially come tournament time. Again, if you were at the Albany Cup, 10,000 people there, most of them in green and gold. If that same turnout happens in the MAC tournament, Siena is going to have a chance. Marquise Wright, barring any setbacks, is not out for the entire season. Stress fracture in his foot, out 6 to 8 weeks. Earliest timetable, February 11th against Canisius. Even if it's the end of February, though, finish out the conference season, go into the MAC tournament strong. Marquise Wright will be okay. He will be back before the season ends. I had a stress fracture as well. It did take about a month and a half for it to heal. Marquise Wright is an elite-level athlete. Maybe it even comes back a little bit earlier than that. So Siena, they've been dealt a tough hand, but this poker game of the 2015-16 season is not over for the Saints. They do have guys that can play. They do have guys that can play, and the young guys like a Kenny Wormley, like a Kenan LaRose, these are guys that can fill in the meantime and just help you tread water. Brett Bisping spoke to that earlier this week as well.
Need to be more vocal now that Marquise is out. But our young guys, I mean, they're doing good. They keep getting better. I mean, they've been here a long time now. They were here this summer. They were here a full semester. So, I mean, I think we can rely on them a little bit.
The young guys like Nico Clarith, they've got a semester under their belt. Kenny Wormley, another freshman guys, they've got a semester under their belt. It is Capital Region Sports Saturday, brought to you by Mohawk Honda, your #1 volume dealer in the Capital Region. Siena will be fine by the end of the year. I promise you that, Capital Region basketball fans. You still could have a chance where you get Siena and Albany on the men's side, both in the NCAA tournament. Well, one season did come to an end yesterday in the Capital Region. One career did come to an end, and that was Iowa running back Jordan Canzeri, the Troy High School product, led the Hawkeyes out on the field yesterday at the Rose Bowl, and what a cool moment that was. And now Iowa gets their doors blown off by Stanford. It was a blowout from the start. Stanford was up 35-0. It wasn't even ever close. But for the Capital Region, it was a chance to watch one last time one of our own take the field, take the gridiron. And Canzeri, he only had 8 yards rushing, 5 carries. But that's more of a product because Iowa was just down so bad so early that they had to pass the ball and really couldn't get their running game going. For Canzeri, he finishes the year 984 yards rushing, just 16 shy of 1,000. Easily would have eclipsed the 1,000-yard mark if he stayed healthy the entire year. He missed nearly 3 full games. Remember, he missed most of the Big Ten title game against Michigan State with an ankle injury. He went out early against Northwestern with an injury and then missed 2 games following that. So Jordan Canzeri was an elite level back in the Big Ten conference this year. And the Big Ten was a great conference this year when you look at Ohio State, Michigan, Iowa, Michigan State. 4 really, really great teams. Indiana was pretty good as well. So Jordan Canzeri put up huge numbers. And we talked to him back in October. He has NFL aspirations, and he could be the next guy from the Capital Region to make an NFL roster. Remember, Dion Lewis? Not a lot of people had really heard of him coming out of Pitt. And he makes the Patriots this year, and he was just an unbelievable talent for New England during their undefeated start before he went out with a torn ACL and has missed most of the season. Probably since about like week 6 now at this point he's been out. And Canzeri he's a bowling ball of a running back. He's, I think, 5'9", 192, runs well, can get through the line, isn't afraid of contact. Jordan Canzeri, after the game, reflecting on his experience at Iowa after the Hawkeyes lose to Stanford in the Rose Bowl.
The fans, everything. I mean, it's just, I'm proud to be a Hawk. I wouldn't trade anything else. Even with this loss, I wouldn't trade my team. I love these guys more than anything, and our fans. They're just so amazing. How many came out here, and no matter the time in the game, they're still cheering for us. I've already told other reporters that. I mean, I don't think I'll ever forget just how loud they cheered when we finally got points on the board. So I mean, that's just something that I'm just really blessed to be a part of. And then the coaches, got to thank them, just everything that they've done for us. They just care so much about us as athletes, but even more as men. So I'm just really happy I came here, and I'm really happy I'm a Hawkeye.
45-16, the final yesterday in the Rose Bowl. Stanford beats Iowa, but Troy High School product Jordan Canzeri sees his career end for Iowa. The day started with him leading the Hawkeyes front and center out of the tunnel, hand in hand at the Rose Bowl in Pasadena, California. And we in the Capital Region, we like to say, wow, that guy is from the Capital Region. He's on a big stage, whether it is a Jimmer Fredette, who we'll talk about at 9:35, whether it's Josh Keyes, who's playing for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, whether it's Garrett Whitley, whether it's Tim Stauffer, Brendan Harris, anybody from the Capital Region that we can associate with, we like. And I am no different than you. Jordan Canzeri, a guy who represented the Capital Region well throughout his tenure at Iowa and throughout this great season, this magical season for the Hawkeyes. The biggest takeaway from that game, though, was just how good the running back on the other side was, and that was Christian McCaffrey. I mean, on the very, very first play of the game, this kid took it to the house, 70-yard touchdown reception, Christian McCaffrey.
Snap, four-man rush, contained. Hogan throws over the middle. McCaffrey has it. 45-50. McCaffrey to the 40. McCaffrey 30, 20, 10, 75 yards on the first play from scrimmage.
McCaffrey's the guy who got, you could call it snubbed now. He's the guy who finished behind Derrick Henry in the Heisman Trophy voting. He's the guy who's going to go into next season as the favorite. He's only a redshirt sophomore, or as a true sophomore, so he'll be back at Stanford next season. He'll go in as the Heisman favorite, maybe along with Leonard Fournette from LSU. I have not seen a performance like that, though, in a very, very long time. Just a dominant performance. McCaffrey, he did it all. He caught passes. He rushed. He returned kicks and punts. He had a punt return for a touchdown, more than 300 yards of total offense for Christian McCaffrey and the Stanford Cardinal. They beat Iowa as Jordan Canzeri, Troy High School graduate. His career in a Hawkeye uniform comes to an end in 10 minutes. I will tell you the other Capital Region Bowl connections that went on yesterday. And, well, one of them was a good, one of them went the way of Canzeri. The other one was a little bit better. That's coming up in 10 minutes. It's Capital Region Sports Saturday, brought to you by Mohawk Honda, your number one volume dealer in the Capital Region. And Mohawk Honda, they strive to be number one because they go for perfection every single day by providing the most impeccable customer service, because really that is the key to any success. And at Mohawk Honda, they try to do it right all the time for their entire family. It really is a family of customers because, yes, over 1,000 new and pre-owned vehicles available to select from. Yes, they're open extended hours in all their departments to better service you. Yes, you can shop 10 acres of savings opportunities or go online 24/7 at MohawkHonda.com. And yes, they will provide you the lowest, no-hassle price to better suit your budget. If new isn't for you, they inventory over 300 of the highest quality pre-owned vehicles, all at one low, below market value, no-hassle price. Being number one isn't easy, but at Mohawk Honda, they treat their customers with respect and have been doing it for almost 100 years. Seriously, 4 generations of the Heritage family serving the Capital Region. Shop their convenient Route 50 in Glenville location to join the number one automotive family at Mohawk Honda, where they always go out of their way to please you. This Capital Region athlete, well, he had a, let's just say, a very, very eventful year. What was the best moment of 2015 for him? And he's coming back home next week, and he joins us next.
It's Capital Region Sports Saturday with Brady Farkas, sponsored by Mohawk Honda.
We are back. It is Capital Region Sports Saturday, brought to you by Mohawk Honda, your number one volume dealer in the Capital Region. On the phone right now, Lake George graduate, University of Maryland, Baltimore County freshman basketball player Joel Winkowski. Joel, you guys are coming to Albany January 6th. You're taking on the Great Danes. Is this a game you've had circled on your calendar for a while, a chance to come back home?
Yes, I mean, it has. Pretty excited to be able to play in front of a bunch of family and friends. Hopefully a lot of people from Lake George can make it out and see us play against Albany. Big conference game, too. So
have you
gotta get geared up and ready for it.
Have you had a lot of people tell you they're coming? Does it seem like all of Lake George is going to make the trip down? I mean, it is about an hour ride, but it seems like a pretty worthwhile trip to me.
Well, they had one of the high school team had a game scheduled for the 6th, and they moved it to the 5th. So I'm pretty sure we'll have quite a few people there from Lake George, and I'm excited for that.
That's great. That's a great story as well. It's Joel Winkowski, Lake George graduate, won a state championship there this past season. Now freshman at UMBC. They're coming down to play Albany on January 6th. And another local freshman who's having a big impact in the America East is Albany's freshman, Scotia graduate, also a state champion, Joe Cremo. What's your relationship like with Joe? First off, do you even know him? Have you ever played with or against him?
Yes, I think I played with him at a couple camps and played against him. Same thing. I wouldn't say I know him very well, but I do know him a little bit personally. He's a great kid, and I'm very happy for him and how he's playing so far this year. I think he deserves. I mean, he's from what I know, he seems like a very hard worker. So I'm happy for him. I think he's representing his town and the section really well at Albany right now.
What has been the biggest adjustment for you in going from high school to college? Obviously here, you're playing at a smaller school, you're shattering scoring records, probably playing every minute of the game and be able to score at will whenever you want. Now you're a freshman and trying to work your way back up into that role again eventually. What's been the biggest adjustment?
I'd say the biggest adjustment is learning how to find your role on a new team. Right now, I'm not a point guard on my team, and I've played point guard pretty much my whole life. So it's different, when told to run, I run the wings and stuff, and so I'm more of like a slasher and a shooter from the outside. So I don't have the ball in my hands a lot of the time. That's definitely the biggest adjustment.
When you say that's been the biggest adjustment, do you think that's something that you'll eventually really grow comfortable with, though? I mean, we all know you're a knockdown shooter, so a chance to not have to do the heavy-duty ball handling and kind of run yourself down offensively. Do you think your game can be better suited to transition to standing on the wing, catching and shooting more often?
I mean, yeah, it depends. I think I'm trying. That's what I'm working at. I really want to become effective at my position and find my role on the team. And so, if that's what I got to do, then that's obviously what I've been practicing for the last however many months. You just want to get better at it and and eventually become great at it, and fit the role on the team.
Lake George graduate and UMBC freshman basketball player Joel Winkowski on Capital Region Sports Saturday, brought to you by Mohawk Honda, your #1 volume dealer in the Capital Region. Joel, you got 2 starts earlier this year, late November and early December. What was it like being a true freshman, going into the America East Conference and hearing your name called as part of the starting lineup?
It was pretty amazing. I got to hear it. Got to hear it at home the first time, and actually one of my high school coaches was at that game. You hear 6'2", and then you hear out of Lake George, New York. It's like, yeah, wow, I'm really feel like I'm making some people proud and making my hometown proud and representing well. And I got to hear it at Bowling Green, which was pretty great too. They were a great team. We actually played them pretty close. That was a good game, and it just I was very excited to play, and I thought I came out and did pretty well in my starts. It wasn't that bad. We had a decent lead against Bowling Green at one point, but hearing my name and the hometown being called out, it was a great feeling.
Joel, I'm not sure if you've had a chance really to keep tabs on what's going back here, back in the Capital Region, but there's a freshman at Glens Falls, Joe Girard III, scored 52 points a couple of weeks ago. He's averaging nearly 40 a game. And some people have already calculated that if he stays healthy, he's going to have a chance to break your all-time Section 2 scoring record by the time he's a senior. What do you think about that?
Wow, that's a lot of points. I've been keeping tabs on Lake George. That's about all I really look at. Try and keep in touch with a couple of my guys. But that's a lot of points. That's a lot of scoring, and he's a young guy, so that's really good for him. And if he, I don't know what to say. That's a lot of points.
Joel Winkowski, UMBC freshman, Lake George graduate with us, Capital Region Sports Saturday, brought to you by Mohawk Honda, your #1 volume dealer in the Capital Region. And Joel, we are right after New Year's, and when we think about New Year's and New Year's Eve and New Year's Day, we reflect on the years that we've had, and you've had a pretty incredible year from graduation to winning a state title to breaking Jimmer's record to getting a chance to talk to Jimmer on our station, actually. What would you say has been your best moment of 2015?
I'd probably say the title, just to win it with that group of guys, and great group of friends and teammates and in front of all of our hometown at the Civic Center. It's a pretty hard feeling to beat when we won that game. That was pretty amazing.
Lake George graduate Joel Winkowski with us, Capital Region Sports Saturday, brought to you by Mohawk Honda. UMBC taking on UAlbany on January 6th. That game at SEFCU Arena, so it's going to be Joel Winkowski, Joe Cremo, Greg Steyer, all on the same floor, so a great game if you're a Capital Region basketball fan. I know I will be there, and I'm sure I'll see a lot of you listeners out there as well. Joel, thanks for being with us. Best of luck here in your freshman season as it continues on, and we'll see you on Wednesday night.
All right. Thank you very much for having me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Of course, Joel Winkowski, Lake George graduate, and really just another great Capital Region story from 2015 carrying into 2016. He will be at SEFCU Arena in a few days on Wednesday. So it will be Joe Cremo from Scotia, Joel Winkowski of Lake George, two state champion winners here in Section 2 going against each other on the floor in the America East Conference. Capital Region Sports Saturday brought to you by Mohawk Honda. The guy that Joel Winkowski, he broke his scoring record, Jimmer Fredette. Well, Jimmer, he is continuing to just kill it in the D-League. He had 23 the other night on December 26th. Well, so now not the other night, now a week ago, but in his last game, 23 points. Jimmer Fredette continuing to play well for the Westchester Knicks of the D-League.
Knicks on top by 4. Fredette wants 3 and connects. Finds some space in the lane and hits the floater, and that's a key. Westchester ball, fresh shot clock as Fredette takes the inbound, cuts into the lane, and hits the reverse layup. Feeds Fredette out top, spins into the lane, floater is good. Atkins sets one, now 2 to shoot, and Fredette heaves it up at the buzzer and hits. Jimmer Fredette has been doing that his whole career.
Kind of lackluster there on the on the call of Jimmer's points there. I believe that was the opposing call for the Delaware 87ers of the D-League. But Jimmer continuing to play well, 23 points a game, shooting nearly 50% from the floor. And he may get a chance to head up to the New York Knicks here in the near future. ESPN's Ian Begley reporting on ESPN.com how the Knicks can improve themselves in 2016. They do need additional guard play, and as Cleanthony Early will be out after being shot last week, and just another tragic story in the NBA. Cleanthony Early, he will be out for a while with the Knicks. So what can the Knicks do in the backcourt? They've looked at signing free agent guard Tony Roten. They've talked about Brandon Jennings as a trade piece. And then also from Begley, the Knicks have been monitoring the D-League for potential additions. They have an open roster spot so they can add a player without making a corresponding roster move after the early knee injury. Fredette of the Westchester Knicks is one candidate, Begley writes. And he says that Phil Jackson is a fan of Fredette's, according to a source. That does not necessarily mean that Fredette will head to the Knicks, but he has an opportunity to, and it does look like it could be Jimmer's best chance to make it back to the NBA. Fredette playing well in his stint in the D-League with the Westchester Knicks, where he is learning the triangle as well, so he could be a guy to go in and fit in the Knicks system. And they have had success in the D-League before. Shane Larkin, Jeremy Lin, Langston Galloway, who's on their roster now and playing well. So Jimmer just could get that opportunity to head to the Knicks in the near future. Capital Region Sports Saturday brought to you by Mohawk Honda. Troy grad Jordan Canzeri, he loses his bowl game yesterday, the Rose Bowl against Iowa. Same the case for Shenendehowa graduate Corey Acker, who falls in the Outback Bowl. Acker plays for Northwestern. They got beat by Tennessee, but Acker did get some carries in the tail end of that game. So again, a cool thing for Capital Region fans to see. If you were watching the tail end of the Outback Bowl, you got to see Shenendehowa graduate Corey Acker carry the ball for the Wildcats. Usually a special teams player, has had a handful of carries this year and did get a few more yesterday. Kyle Hendrickson, another former Shen guy, another former Shen football player, the assistant recruiting coordinator at Ohio State. They take down Notre Dame in the Fiesta Bowl, 44-28. And what was a good game, Ezekiel Elliott, 4 touchdowns. Joey Bosa, potentially the number 1 pick in the draft, was ejected, but Kyle Hendrickson, Shenendehowa product, he was there at the game. I was texting back and forth with him during it. We are going to try to get him on here on this show coming in the next few weeks or so. So Capital Region Sports Saturday brought to you by Mohawk Honda, where as always they go out of their way to please you. And you can ask them about their Mohawk Honda exchange program, because their Mohawk exchange specialists can assist you in upgrading your current vehicle to a newer one with no money down for the same or lower payment. Please ask for Tiffany, Katie, or Vide to see just how easy it is to exchange your vehicle for the same or lower payment. Again, if new isn't for you, they inventory 300 of the highest quality pre-owned vehicles, all at one low, below-market value, no-hassle price. Shop their convenient Route 50 in Glenville location to join the #1 automotive family where a Mohawk Honda, they always go out of their way to please you. The Giants report surfacing that Tom Coughlin could be resigning after tomorrow's regular season finale against the Eagles. If that happens, what's his legacy and what's next? Matt Verderam, Fansided.com NFL expert. He tells us next.
9254.
It's Capital Region Sports Saturday with Brady Farkas, sponsored by Mohawk Honda.
Capital Region Sports Saturday brought to you by Mohawk Honda. Brady Farkas with you for another 15 minutes. Tomorrow, the last game of the regular season for the New York Giants, not headed to the playoffs, have not been there since 2011. On the phone with us right now, Matt Verderam, Fansided.com's lead NFL guy. And Matt, Tom Coughlin reports surfacing from Mike Garofalo that he may resign following this game on Monday. Would that be the right move for Tom Coughlin to walk away with another year on his deal? Matt, you there with us? Matt, you there with us? Matt Verderam, Fansided.com NFL reporter, having a little trouble connecting to him. So we'll do what we can to get back to Matt Verderam and ask him those questions and more. But Tom Coughlin, again, the reports surfacing that he may walk away at the end of the season or walk away on Monday now during Black Monday. Mike Garofalo of Fox Sports 1 was on with Colin Cowherd yesterday talking about it, and he gave his take on the Tom Coughlin inevitability of his resigning.
Carolina game and how disappointing it was. Yeah, they fought back in the end, but they didn't really come out of the gate strong like you usually see a Tom Coughlin team do in that game right there. I was actually told even after the game, Coughlin was on the field playing with his grandkids, which nobody has really seen. And they said, this is a different Tom Coughlin. And I think that he's ready to move away. And a lot of people are talking right now as if it's an inevitability that on Monday he is going to resign. I'm hearing that from a lot of people.
Oh, wow. So reports surface Tom Coughlin will likely resign at the end of the regular season. Now I'm told by our producers that we do have Matt Verderam of Fansided.com. Matt, you there?
I am here.
All right, Matt, thank you. So the report comes out, Tom Coughlin may resign. Is that the right move for him with a year on his deal?
I think he knows he's probably going to get fired anyway, and it's about saving face at this point. You know, Coughlin's had a great career. Of course, he's won 2 Super Bowls. But the Giants haven't made the playoffs since they won that second Super Bowl. So I think he knows, and the organization knows, it's time to move on, maybe get some new blood there. And I think maybe that's just a graceful way for him to go out rather than to be fired.
Tom Coughlin, I don't think he became just a bad coach overnight. He's won 2 Super Bowls. He won his AFC title game with Jacksonville. Do you think this is just the Giants just need a new voice, a new perspective? Do you think that's what this is more so than anything?
I think it's a few things. I agree with you as he become a bad coach overnight, although this year he's had a rough year. There's no question. He's cost that team 2 to 3 games on his own along with the rest of his coaching staff because of their time management. If they knew how to manage the clock, they would have won this division, or at least would probably be tied for it right now going into Week 17. But that being said, he's the oldest coach in the NFL, and at some point in time, you have to just say, what is the end game here? By the time we're good again, he's probably going to be retiring. So I think the Giants just feel like maybe it's time to go out and find a guy, and they might find their guy in Sean Payton, who would be a perfect fit for that team.
Would you agree with my assessment that while Tom Coughlin does have a hand in this season as well, there appear to be a lot of other organizational issues with the Giants. That roster, the depth isn't there. They've had to overcome injury, but to me, just their last few drafts really haven't surfaced all that well. I mean, Eric Flowers, Landon Collins have played significant time this year, and last year, outside of OBJ, you're not really seeing any major contributions.
Yeah, I agree. I think Jerry Reach, their general manager, has done a bad job. When he first got there, he was lauded for his drafts. And I think over the last couple of seasons, Flowers does look like a player. Like you said, Collins, he might be, something good for them here in the future. But that team is just bad. Eli Manning is a decent quarterback. He's not great. He's never been great, except when he's in the playoffs. And while Odell Beckham Jr. is a phenomenal talent, the rest of that team around those two guys stinks. They're not good defensively. They're not good on the offensive line. Their running backs are okay. Rashad Jennings and Shane Green are all right. But Jerry Reese hasn't gotten the job done. If I was sitting in Giants ownership, you would be the first man out the building come Monday morning.
Matt Verderam, Fansided.com, NFL reporter with us, Capital Region Sports Saturday, brought to you by Mohawk Honda. You alluded to if Tom Coughlin does resign, maybe Sean Payton is a guy that if he's let go in New Orleans is a guy that could fill that void. What other, though, hot coaching candidates are there going to be coming about we're going to talk about this offseason?
Well, it seems like the last couple of years, Adam Gase has been a really big candidate. He's the Chicago Bears offensive coordinator. He was Denver's offensive coordinator while John Fox was there, and Peyton Manning talked about him in glowing terms for years. So he's somebody who will definitely be up for consideration. Some people think Hugh Jackson of the Bengals will be up for consideration. He's our offensive coordinator. He's put together a nice season even since Dalton has gone down. So those are a couple of guys who maybe will get a look. Then there's some guys like Chuck Pagano, who apparently is going to be fired. He'll be available. Do the Giants like him? I don't know. Doug Marrone was a guy who did a good job with the Bills. Then he left on his own terms, went to be the Jaguars' offensive line coach. A lot of people think he'll get another shot this year. So those are just a few candidates to watch here as we start the hiring and firing season in the NFL. Biggest game on the New York docket tomorrow is the Jets and the Bills. If the Jets win, they are in. If they lose, they can still be in if Pittsburgh loses as well. But tomorrow, the Rex Ryan Bowl Part 2, I think that the Bills are going to take it in Buffalo. I think Rex is going to muster enough motivation to go try to help knock his old team out of the playoffs. How do you see that game going?
I think the Jets are going to kill them.
Really?
I just have a feeling. You know what? The Jets are playing really good football. They just beat New England, so I know some people say, well, they might have a letdown. You know what? They know they got to win this game. Pittsburgh is not going to lose to Cleveland. So that game's a de facto playoff game up in Buffalo. I think the Bills have the talent to beat them. They beat them already in New York, so it's certainly not a crazy stance to think the Bills will beat them. I just think the Bills are in the tank. You've seen so much talk about how Rex Ryan and their general manager, Doug Whaley, are at odds, and Mario Williams has already got one and a half feet out the door. I just think in this game, the Bills have nothing to play for other than just to try to knock off the Jets, and the Jets have everything to play for in this game. If the Jets make the playoffs, they're a dangerous team. They're not the typical wildcard team that's going to get in the playoffs and just get blown out in the first round. That team has a chance to end up in Santa Clara. That is a very good football team.
I still think, interestingly enough, as good as the Jets are playing, that the team you cover exclusively at Fanside, the Kansas City Chiefs, is the biggest threat to New England. As you wrote about earlier this week, they have a favorable projected playoff draw in which they could play Houston in the first round, who's not a very good team out of the AFC South. And the Chiefs are playing so well, even in the absence of Jamal Charles, so they lost earlier in the season. I think Pittsburgh is the best team in the AFC outside of New England, but they're probably going to get left out. I think your Chiefs are the biggest threat to New England. What do you think?
I think they could be. I think the one thing with the Chiefs that will scare any team they play, the Chiefs have a great defense. And for years they've had a good defense. This year they have a great defense, and it's because of Marcus Peters and Sean Smith and Eric Berry in the backfield. Sean Smith doesn't get enough publicity because he doesn't have a ton of receptions, but it's because nobody throws at him. There's been a statistic flying around that Marcus Peters is by far the most targeted cornerback in the league. And he's a Pro Bowler, so it tells you that the guy on their side is pretty good, or they wouldn't be throwing at Peter. So I think the Chiefs' defense is nasty. They can get after the passer. They expect to have Houston and Ali back in the first round of the playoffs. If not on Sunday, they're both questionable. The thing with the Chiefs, can the Chiefs score enough points? And I got to tell you, with the way their defense is playing, if they score 20 points, it's probably enough. So I think the Chiefs and the Jets are the two best teams in the playoffs outside of New England. I don't think Denver can score enough. I don't trust A.J. McCarron in the playoffs. And Houston is by far the worst team in the AFC playoffs.
Matt Verderam, Fansided.com with us, Capital Region Sports Saturday. The Bills, they decide this week they're bringing back both Rex Ryan and Doug Whaley. Seems like a bad move to me. You just said they're at odds. I'm fine with bringing Rex back. It was year one of a 5-year deal. You're probably not cutting bait after 1 year, but to me, Doug Whaley and him could not coexist together. What'd you make of that?
I agree with you. I think, Rex, I think would be the first one to tell you, he didn't do a great job with this team, but in fairness to him, you know, they have a lot of talent in certain areas of the field. They have a lot of talent in the defensive front seven. You know, the secondary is not terrible. They have some guys on offense like Watkins, you know, McCoy. But listen, Tyrod Taylor did a nice job. Probably not a franchise quarterback. The offensive line's mediocre. Like Doug Whaley, what does he have to hold his hat on and say, yeah, that's why I need to be here? This team hasn't made the playoffs since 1999, and they haven't had a franchise quarterback in that time. And I don't think those two things are a coincidence. You know, they're not going to fire Ryan. They're just not. It's too much money left on the contract. You're right. Like, he's not going anywhere. I think if you're the Bills, you have to go, you know, you have to make a swing for the fences type move. Like, the Saints are probably going to cut Drew Brees. Go out and sign Drew Brees. Whatever it takes. Like, financially, whatever you have to do. They have some guys they're going to cut to save money like Mario Williams. Go out, get a real franchise-level quarterback, and then see what you can do. Because Rex Ryan can coach defense. His problem is, in all of his years as head coach, his quarterback's always stunk.
Capital Region Sports Saturday brought to you by Mohawk Honda. Matt Verderam, Fansided.com, NFL reporter and head guy over there doing a great job. Matt, Happy New Year. Thanks for being with us.
Happy New Year, Brady. Take care.
Absolutely. Matt Verderam doing great things over at Fansided. Follow him on Twitter at Matt Verderam. Big games tomorrow, Week 17. Giants, Eagles will close out the NFC East season. Will it be Tom Coughlin's last game? That is what reports are saying. Mike Garofalo, Fox Sports 1, has said so. Jets, Bills, de facto playoff game in Buffalo. If the Jets win, they are in. Thanks to all of our guests who joined us today. Shenandoah basketball coach Tony Dzikas, Lake George freshman basketball player Joel Winkowski. We will do it again next week, 9 to 10 a.m. It is Capital Region Sports Saturday, brought to you by Mohawk Honda and 104.5 The Team.
It's Armin and Levac weekdays 3 to